Last year, during the whole killer clown craze, a few clowns on Twitter threatened to come to our school at 11 a.m. and kill us. The school picked up on this and sent out emails to parents and planned a lockdown 10:30. Sitting in history class, I hear the familiar sound of the lockdown alarm. The teacher rushing to the windows and door, locking and closing them. And to be honest, I wasn't that worried. I thought that it was just another blank thread online, and nothing would happen and my day would go back to normal. There was still an excitement to the lockdown. After 40 minutes of silence, sitting on the cold floor in the corner of the room, the emergency there was still an excitement to the lockdown. I wasn't that worried. I thought that it was of the lockdown alarm. The teacher rushing to the windows and door, lockdown at 10:30. Sitting in history class, I hear the familiar sound of the lockdown alarm. The teacher rushing to the windows and door, locking and closing them. And to be honest, I wasn't that worried. I thought that it was just another blank thread online, and nothing would happen and my day would go back to normal. There was still an excitement to the lockdown. After 40 minutes of silence, sitting on the cold floor in the corner of the room, the emergency green flashing lights turned off and the air conditioning slowly fell silent, and the hallway lights switched off. The school had cut the power, but why? At this point, me and my classmates were staring at each other. We all knew that something real was going on. After 10 minutes or so, we could all hear a faint banging noise from down the corridor, shortly followed by heavy and fast footsteps. Someone was running down the hallway. They started banging on the lockers and screamed that they'll kill us all. At this point, a few girls started quietly crying. And then, the most terrifying thing happened. One of the men, dressed as a clown, ran up to my class door, banging and screaming. Multiple people were crying now, and one of my friends whispered to me that we're all gonna die. I started crying too. The man swiftly moved away from our door, and his scream slowly faded down the corridor. After another 2 hours, the principal came on the loudspeaker and surprisingly explained everything. He said that just after 11, two men walked into the school, one holding a kitchen knife and a camera. They ran around the school threatening to kill students, and once police raided the school, only one was caught. But luckily, no one was hurt. The school got over 20 buses to take the younger kids home, and the kids in 9th grade and over, like me, were told to walk home in groups and to call the police if we saw anything suspicious. I had a hard week at school, thinking that the second man would return with a gun or something, but nothing happened. This, nonetheless, will be scarred into my mind forever. The second one, as far as I know, has not yet been caught. But at this point, I feel like they're not looking for him, as it's been over a year. But the thought of him still planning an attack on this school has made me a lot more cautious when walking to school. Since then, the school has hired a few on-campus police officers and have installed some auto-locking features on doors and windows when the lockdown alarm goes off. This has made me feel a little bit better in school, but this just isn't something that you can forget about. It stays around forever. In primary school, a known crazy of the community was running around the school brandishing a knife. I believe it was homeless, humpbacked, and used to walk in circles around the park. He was like the butler in the Lara Croft PC games. You'd go to the park, and within 10 minutes of walking through the bush, he would always be there, walking slowly behind you, stopping when you stopped, and never speaking or making any other action. If you were sitting out in the open field, you'd eventually see him making his way towards you, walking snail-paced and limping, a beeline right in your direction. I never found out what he'd do if he made it right up to you, because as 10 to 12-year-olds, we'd always run away screaming. A lot of the older kids would get annoyed at us for that and call us rude. He had some sort of mental illness and probably just wanted a friend to talk to. That's what they would say anyway. But they stopped saying that after he walked right through the school gates, beelining towards the block of classrooms with a rusty machete he probably found in the bushes. School went on lockdown. Our class knew what had happened because our windows was facing the school gates. Not sure what the other classes were told at the time though. When the police got there, we were made to sit down and face away from the window in case it got violent. So I don't know how that went down. But living in a small town and a small school, where that sort of thing didn't happen too often, it was pretty scary. It happened in 2014 in November. I'm a senior in high school and graduating soon this year. I remember full and not wanting to go to school because somehow I knew that something bad was gonna happen. After arguing with myself to whether or not to go to school and texting my friends, I decided to go to my mom and tell her I won't be going to school, since we will only be watching movies and eat free food given by the teacher. I finally convinced her and I went to sleep. Two of my friends also told me they're not going to school today. Then I received a text message from my dad and friends that came from the school. It says, "The school is on lockdown. All students and staff are to remain inside the class. The police are on their way. A student is allegedly threatening all the staffs with a weapon in hand." This is normal for me. The school lockdowns when there's trouble. It happened twice in 5 years. At first, my school wasn't as bad as it is right now. We had a student council and we look up to them. They regulate school rules and are always the ones to stop the fights or anything that will harm the students. That was in 2011 and 2012. When the seniors who were all part of the student council graduated, everything went bad. My school was suddenly reported for drug deals, fights inside the school, my school wanting to fight another school, and bomb threats. I can recall events where police were escorting a student a year below mine. So this wasn't anything that surprising, except the last sentence. I read it again and again to make sure I'm reading it right. And I was. The next day, my friends who were at the school told me what happened. Apparently a guy who's 6 feet tall went on a rampage when a teacher told him off for not doing his work and not graduating. The creepy thing though, was that he's in the same year as me. I often see him in school and he looks harmless. He broke the school's windows in the 700 block, went to the cooking class and grabbed a kitchen knife as a weapon and threatened everyone that he would kill them. They called the police and made the students go to their classes and remain in class until the police gets into the school. Fortunately, there were brave students and knew how to defend themselves and decided to imprison the student into a closet taller than him. I don't know what happened after that. There were rumors that he was put in jail, suspended, expelled, and went to another school. It was a good thing I wasn't there. Many times my instinct has saved me from danger, and this is one of those that I won't forget. It was the day before Thanksgiving break, and I was a freshman in high school. All of a sudden we heard screaming down the hall and these kids started running to our classroom. It was only seconds later there was an announcement we were in lockdown. Our teachers soon locked us in and ran towards the disturbance. We were locked in the room for a while. It wasn't until the end of the day we found out that one of the kids in a Spanish class down the hall from our room had brought 2 machetes to school and was trying to slice as many people as possible. My teacher had been one of many who tackled him. A few people were injured, but no one was killed. I'll link to an article of the incident in the comments below. The city I'm from in upstate New York is known for the large maximum security prison smack dab in the middle of a residential district. The inmate is a mishmash of murderers, rapists, and other nice people. This is a picture from the driveway of the house I lived in 4th grade. The prison is the brick building in the background. Back in 2003, in 4th grade, a couple of inmates escaped and the whole city was on lockdown. There was an episode of some prison escape TV show on the History Channel or National Geographic about it. They made a rope out of bed sheets and went out a window. It's actually a pretty interesting episode to watch, because one of the guys fell a story or two when he fell off the rope and broke his ankle and obviously still had to run. There were literally no hard fences outside of the building, so it was as easy as walking down the hill from there. They were both convicted murderers. I guess the city was going apeshit with 2 murderers loose in the city. I don't really remember because I was in school the whole time and really young. But they didn't catch them until 3 days later. During the whole lockdown, they didn't tell us anything and we were stuck in school until our parents could come get us. I didn't get out until 5 or 6 o'clock.
With Clipchamp.